Unity of Houston is an inclusive church where we seek to understand and live the teachings of Jesus and other spiritual masters. At Unity, we welcome all people from all spiritual paths and every walk of life. We celebrate the diversity of our city and of our world, and we teach love, tolerance, and oneness, seeking to live in harmony with open minds and open hearts.
Wherever you are in your spiritual path, you are always welcome at Unity. Join us and discover that the life of your dreams is already within you. And I think I have one for you. I have something that feels very alive in me today as we're speaking about losing our fear of flying. We've been doing a lot of monthly themes and series, and we're taking a break this month. Each Sunday will be its own thing. Reverend G. Marie will speak next week on discovering wholeness. On the 20th, we're going to be discovering Father's Day. We're celebrating Father's Day, and we're celebrating Pride on the last Sunday of the month. So happy Pride, everyone, and we hope that you'll join us for all of our Sundays here at Unity of Houston. And it's kind of nice to, I like this series because if I don't get to say it all in 1 week, I've got another one coming up. But I also like just being able to have a Sunday where I just get to talk about this one thing. There's I don't know if it's a joke, it's called 6 Little Stories. Thank you, Lyle, for continuing to, this is one he sent me a while back, and I've used it before, but not in a while, so I hope you enjoy it. 6 Little Stories. If I can get my iPad to cooperate. Once all the villagers decided to pray for rain. On the day of the prayer, all the people gathered, but only one boy came with an umbrella. That's faith. Number 2, when you throw babies in the air, they laugh because they know you will catch them. That's called trust. Number 3, every night we go to bed without any assurance to be alive the next morning, but we still set the alarm clock. That's hope. And we plan big things for tomorrow in spite of zero knowledge of the future. That's confidence. We see the world suffering, but we still marry and have children. That's called love. And finally, the scene on an old man's shirt, the sentence was, I am not 80 years old. I am sweet 16 with 64 years of experience. And that's called attitude. So today, a couple of those are really going to be relevant to what I want to speak about today. We have conflicted yearnings in our lives, and I'm going to speak about a pair of these. That we desire to be free and soar through our lives with power and confidence and faith. That's a desire we have. And then we also want to know everything that's going to happen every minute of that soaring and freedom. We long for both freedom and security. And I think you can probably see there's a tension there. That to really soar, it requires us to let go of that which we think is certain. And so what I'm speaking about today is really about form and essence. If you're placing your faith in the form, in the house, the job, the marriage, the health, the body, if that's where you're placing all of your sense of safety and well-being and okayness, you're most likely going to be disappointed because all form is temporary. You see, spirit is for all eternity coming into form and expressing as operas and symphonies and volcanoes and galaxies. And then each of those forms completes. It's done and it moves away and spirit gets to be something else. You know, even science understands this now. We say that energy cannot be created or destroyed. It only changes form. And so that is the real issue here. We get attached to a form. And when that form changes, we feel lost and set adrift sometimes. And what I'm hoping to bring to us today is a deeper place to put our trust. That there is an unseen support and energy that lifts us through all the changes of life. And when we really trust that, when we are spreading our wings, I'm going to use this metaphor a lot, just get used to it. When we're spreading our wings and feeling the updraft of that unseen energy of life itself, then we're truly free. So the conditions, all of this stuff is going to change, right? And when we're trying to fly and be safe, it's sometimes like putting on the gas and the brakes at the exact same moment. And you can feel can you feel that energy? It's like, oh, go, stop, go, stop. But I want to remind you that you are supported. And what your deepest desire is speaking to you today is really God speaking to you. This is Emily Cady asking, springs from some desire to possess some good. And what is desire? Desire in the heart is always God tapping at the door of your consciousness with infinite supply. A supply that is forever useless unless there be a demand upon it. The universe, life, love, divine intelligence, God is seeking to reveal this supportive energy, this creative energy, this newness, this possibility, this potential, seeking to give it into your experience and into your expression. And if we can get quiet and go, what do I want? What wants to happen in and through and as my life? We have a clue as to what this next chapter of our becoming might look like. So I just invite you right now just to ask that question, what do I want? And just see what comes. What do I want? Breathe into that. And your homework for this next 7 days is to come back to that question, to get still and just ask, what do I want? And trust that that desire that's springing up within you is really life itself seeking to give you the gift that you seek. There's a wonderful daily spiritual devotional guide that I've been using for years and years. It's called Richer Living by Ernest Holmes and Raymond Charles Barker. This was from a couple of days ago. My word is power. My thought is a direction to the universal power and presence. My active treatment, which is another word for affirmative prayer, is a command to the subconscious to produce what I want. Knowing what I really want, I now speak with authority to my own mind and to the sum total powers of the universe. They will automatically produce my command in form. This is my power and my authority as a child of God. You're being invited to co-create with Spirit a life beyond your dreams. It's so good to speak about this after so much disruption and you know what we've gone through in the last 15 months. Sometimes we've been like holding on, right? It's like, how are we going to get through this? We've been trying to distance and still hold each other in community. And now it feels like it's the time for us to be reminded of this basic of our teachings. As our former senior minister, Reverend Howard, would say, life is meant to be good. And I agree 100% with Howard, and I would say that life is good, and your experience of life is meant to be that fully. So let's talk about flying for a minute, shall we? It is really understandable why this has been a spiritual metaphor and a teaching tool for as long as people have known anything about it. You can imagine our most distant ancestors life was hard back then. We didn't have cars or freeways or electricity or running water or medicine. Life was hard. And you could imagine some poor soul having to go find water and then bring it back to the camp, and he sees a bird just boop, boop. It's like, boy, wouldn't it be great if I could fly like that thing? Wouldn't that be great? If I could do that. And so I think for really millions of years, our ancestors have looked up, have seen the flying thing, and it's like, to have that freedom. And it's become a really potent metaphor for our spiritual growth. It's a beautiful analogy for us to think about, because what we're seeking is freedom and power. The power to do and create, and the freedom of life, being unencumbered by gravity. Pesky gravity That's really why this is such a good metaphor. And so my best friend Chris is here with me this week, and we were talking. She's also a minister. We kind of compare notes on how we create messages and sermons, and I tasked her with finding a story that really illustrated the moment of leaping off into faith, and she failed me utterly. I just hate to say it right here in front of you, but you did. I love telling stories, and thanks a lot, Chris, really. But we had a rich discussion yesterday about this idea of flying and freedom and our fear of flying. And this morning she texted me, much too late to include in my sermon, but I'm going to go ahead and include it anyway, that what we're really afraid of when it comes to fear of flying, it's our fear of falling. And let me just tell you that you will. You will fall. You will. And you will live to tell the tale. And you will find that all of those ways you've been trying to keep from falling never would have saved you anyway. But life itself, the energy of creation, the same energy that said, let there be light, and there was light, everything was created, that will catch you and lift you. So since Chris really bitterly disappointed me with the story, I had to go find another something to teach you, some sermon illustration, as we call them. And I remembered one about the eagles, that when it's time for the eaglets to fly, that the parents will come and pull all the soft stuff in the nest, and so it becomes too uncomfortable, and then the eagles fly. You know, it's not true. I searched. It's a great teaching metaphor and example, but it's just not. That's not what eagles do at all. Just the myth is, and you can see why that makes sense. When we get too comfortable in the place where we are and life wants to expand and evolve through us, we have to get a little uncomfortable sometimes to step out and fly. That life can be a bit of a hard teacher that way sometimes. But here's the truth. I got this from the internet, so you know it's true. It was actually from the Texas Wildlife Department, one of the, what do you call a bird, an ornithologist? Is that what the bird people are? Who is an expert in the Texas bird life, and he said that he's never seen that, but what he has seen are bald eagles, and he's seen this in several nesting sites. That when it's time, when the fledglings are ready, instead of the parents pushing them out or making it too uncomfortable, what they do instead, they soar past the nest and they call to them. They call. They say, do you see how good this is? And so these fledgling eagles who have been so supported by their parents bringing them food and the solidity of the nest are seeing that there's another kind of support with greater freedom and power. And the parent is saying, come. You're built for this. And life itself actually supports the eagle. This is another, you see, sometimes the facts are even better than the stories we make up. Did you know that the first set of adult flight feathers that the eagle gets are longer than any of the rest they'll have in their lives because they need a little extra support as they're learning to fly? They need a little bit more. And so life, evolution, God just says, here's a little bit more support for you. The other story I thought about, thanks again, Chris. The other story that I was really wanting to share is about the Wright brothers. And I was taught by a teacher I loved that the Wright brothers had this desire to create powered flight for human beings, and their fundamentalist father opposed them and disowned them for breaking. And it was this story of the individual rising up against all opposition and moving forward to create. It's not true. It didn't happen that way. It didn't. That's not the story. I did a lot of research on this and read about the Wright. Now, their father was a fundamentalist pastor and a bishop, and he was very limited in a lot of the ways that he saw and the way he raised his kids. But here's the thing about him, Milton Wright, is that he had 2 libraries in his home. Both he and his wife, they met in college, and they both had a huge love of learning for learning's sake, and they encouraged all 7 of their children, I think there were 4 that survived childhood, to study and learn and pursue that desire. And so both Orville and Wilbur, his sons, they dropped out of high school, but they learned with their father's encouragement. He was the one that brought them back a toy helicopter from his travel with a wind-up propeller, and that was what sparked the interest in Wilbur and Orville. And in 1903, for 59 seconds, the first powered flight, he was proud of them, took some credit. And so again, the story that I was taught, which is kind of a great story, is that I will be opposed, but my individual empowerment will push through and I will fly. And the actual story is they were supported and encouraged by life to discover what might be possible. And we all know that both of those things are true. There are times that we are invited into our growth by our discomfort and by opposition. But I want you to take this truth this morning, that whatever this next thing, this next experience, whatever it is seeking to die and be released in your life so that you can step into the greater yet to be, the next chapter, you are supported. Do you hear me? Life supports you in your growth and your expansion. You're going to be just fine. You will fall. You might have some skinned knees and bumps and bruises. And sometimes you may leap off in a direction, and that was not the direction you were supposed to leap. And guess what? You will learn so much from that. And the next leap will be exactly right. So I was taught this in AA years ago, that when we're seeking spiritual direction, it's like we're in a dark room that's just filled with objects and dangers and obstacles, and we're given a flashlight that illuminates exactly 18 inches. It's enough to take a step. And then we can see enough to take the next step. Don't be afraid. You're going to be given what you need, when you need it, to live the life of your potential. And don't worry about what people think about it. Don't worry about how it looks on your CV. Don't worry about that. Just step forward into what life is calling to you and what the desire of your heart is beckoning, and you're going to be fine. Michael Beckwith says it this way. He said, "Our pain pushes until our vision pulls." Our pain pushes until our vision pulls. There is a story that I want to share that I think it holds a key to the way we actually move through our fear of flying and begin to spread our wings. And it's, at first when the story came, I realized I have never taught on this story before, at least not in my iPad records of all my messages and sermons. But it's one I've loved my whole life. It's only 4 verses in the 10th chapter of the Gospel of Mark. It's basically this. As Jesus' fame and public love grew, that the families began to come and listen, and the parents would bring their children to Jesus for a blessing. And he was placing his hands upon the children and blessing them. And then the disciples saw this, and they said, "No, he's too busy. He's got better things to do than laying hands on your kids." No, they tried to interrupt. They said, "Please don't bother the teacher with your children right now. He's busy. He's important." And then Jesus said, it says in the King James, "Suffer the little children to come unto me." Let the children come. And you know, for years I grew up with images, maybe in Sunday school you saw them too, of Jesus with the children. And I took away the message that Jesus was good with kids. And we should be like Jesus and be nice to kids. That's the message that I took from this story. But the last verse in the story is really the key. It says this. Actually, the last 2 verses. He says, "Truly I tell you, anyone who will not receive the kingdom of God like a little child will never enter it." And he took the children in his arms, placed his hands on them, and he blessed them. Anyone who will not receive the kingdom of heaven. And what do we mean by the kingdom of heaven? It means the realm of spiritual law and principle having full sway in life. To be in alignment with divine creative energy in life. Love, peace, light, power, beauty, and joy. These are the qualities of the divine that we are meant to express and experience. And to become as a child. I was thinking about that image in the beginning where you throw a child into the air and they laugh Because why? They trust. They trust. You know, I've heard this story my whole life, and I've often been told that we are to be childlike but not childish. And I think we mostly figure out what that means, but I don't know that anybody's ever taught me, so I did a little, contemplating on this. And I think what it means for me, and see if this works for you, that childish behavior is self-centered, selfish, willful, as kids are so beautifully sometimes. Those of you who have raised them know it's childish, and they have to grow out of that. They have to learn a different way to be, and that's part of the parents and grandparents and the community and the village's job to raise them and teach them about more than just their own desire and interest. That's childishness. And how many of you know some childish adults? Don't raise your hand or point right now. And if you don't know any, you might be one. But it's about ego, self-willfulness. But childlikeness, that feels like innocence, wonder, and trust. Like that child that you toss into the air and they know absolutely they will be caught and cared for. This is the key to living in the kingdom, is to summon our innocence and our wonder and our trust and to live from that. Life has brought you forth to deliver the gift that only you can give. And all you need is right here, within you, and right here, all around you. This is another passage from Richer Living. I now become the person I have always hoped to be. Finding the Spirit within me, I change all opinions of myself. No more self-limitation. No more self-condemnation. Today, I am God's creation, and as such, I move forward into life. That is the invitation. I'm going to invite Ken to come back out here, and Gary has written this amazing song. And I've asked Ken to sing the first part of it to move us into a space of prayer, of surrender, of openness. So just listen to these words and close your eyes and feel your heart open.
Sometimes in the middle of the day, a still small voice calls me away from all my worries and all my pain, like a mother to a child who knows just what to say. And my heart is filled with a hope I've never known. Darkness fades in the light that shone, and I know why I've traveled this road. This voice is telling me I'm already home. I see myself worthy. I see myself strong. I see myself standing right where I belong. I can feel my heart soaring, open and free. I can finally see myself as you see me.
With our hearts open, with our hearts free, we see ourselves as you have created us, God, in the image and likeness of pure love. So many thoughts of inadequacy and insufficiency that we were taught by our parents, our culture. It was never true. All we have to do is open and allow this deeper truth of divine perfection, divine possibility, which is who and what we are. So right here, all of us, within the sound of my voice, we say yes. Yes, and we don't have to figure it out. Like a child, we can just trust that our yes will open something in ourselves, in the universe, for divine supply. Like the updraft under the wings of the eagle, we are lifted into our true nature. We are free. We are free. Nothing to bind us or to limit us. And so this moment is a moment of freedom where we release resentment of anyone who has ever wronged us. We release any regret from the past, any desire to have the past be anything other than what it was. It is done, and we are free. And something new wants to be born in us now. And so like a child filled with wonder and innocence and trust, we spread our wings. We open ourselves undefended and available to you, God. Spirit, move through us. Spirit, lift us, reveal us, heal us. We are ready. We are willing. And so on the power of this yes, we rise. And we support all the other people in our lives who are in this yes with us. And we see them, we affirm with them who they are as the light. And together we rise. And our hearts are grateful. Our hearts are open. Our minds are tuned to your will. We are aligned with love, with light, with peace, with power, with joy, and with gratitude. We release this word. Amen. Thank you for watching this message today. I'd like to invite you to join us in person here on campus at Unity of Houston for Sunday morning or Wednesday evening services. If you can't be with us here on our campus, you can still join us live on Facebook or on our website, unityhouston.org. Sunday mornings at 11 a.m. Central.